Because a king just ain't enough, and democracy's too slow. It's me, the tyrant. How you kids handling the 21st century today? Today we will be... Okay, so first off, let me set up the footage you're watching here a bit. I finished recording for the last video, recording this stuff for the last video, and then I thought, let me just try and see how well I can kill everybody in Megaton's bar. The funny thing was, I'm a level 3 right now, and I'm spec'd mainly into explosives, so I don't have a lot of damage at all. And it turns out that Billy Creel is apparently tanky as hell, and also has a magnum that can two-shot me. So I decided it would be fun to see how many tries it would take me to kill Billy Creel. So that's what you're watching right now. It's just me trying to kill him over and over again. But let me get to the topic at hand already. And I'd like to preface the topic at hand by saying, up until this point, I have been talking about things that we should add to Fallout 4 and how they might make the series better. Today, I will not be talking about that. Today, I am talking about something that has already been added to Fallout 4 that a lot of people are... It's very controversial. It's a very controversial topic. So this is a slight deviation, but I still hope you guys enjoy it. Today, of course, we will be talking about the voiced protagonist in Fallout 4. Now, okay, so I have played a multitude of games with both voiced and non-voiced protagonists. I played Dragon Age Origins, I played Fallout 3, but I've also played Mass Effect and other games like that. I can't think of any off the top of my head. And there are certain advantages, of course, to having a non-voiced protagonist, and there are certain advantages to having a voiced protagonist. And I'm just going to walk through those with you guys a bit here. So when you don't have a voice for your protagonist, the first advantage that you get from doing that is more dialogue options. You will always, I don't care how far down the road we go, you will always have more dialogue options with a non-voice protagonist than with a voice protagonist, and it's really simple. And that's because when the game developers, run into a problem, they can say, oh, well, let's just add in a line for your character to say. And they can do that without having to, call somebody in, give them a script, have them read it, have both of them read it, because you have to have the male and the female read it. So it makes it a lot simpler for them to deal with stuff like that when the protagonist isn't voiced. So you will always have more dialogue options for a non-voiced protagonist, which is nice. I will admit, it is nice to have a ton of dialogue options that you can choose from. And then the other advantage that you get with a non-voiced protagonist, well, this one's a little more... It varies, but you could say more immersion because you don't have an actual voice coming out of your character that's not yours. So you could definitely make a case that it's more immersive. I personally don't think it is, but that's just me. And I'll get to that later. And then the last point that I have for non-voiced protagonist is something that honestly has been kind of bothering me in a lot of comments I've seen, not on my videos, because my videos don't get comments, but on on other people's videos and on like the E3 videos. A lot of them have had this comment on there where they've said voice protagonist makes it harder to create mods. Now, that's entirely true. That is completely 100% true, but I'd like to put this in perspective for a minute. Fallout 3 came out back in 2008, I believe. And, that was 7 years ago. We've had 7 years on that game of people making mods for it, because the GECK's been out for at least 5 years, I think. I don't know the exact date on it, but the GECK's been out for a really long time. So, you have stuff like the GECK and stuff like that helps. For those of you who don't know, the GECK is basically the source code for the game. It's how people make mods, because it's the SDK. It's the software development kit for the game. Oh, whoops, what is that doing there? Get out of here. Had something pop up on my screen there for a second, sorry. So yeah, that's the SDK. And to all you modders out there who are looking at the game and saying, oh, Fallout 4 is going to be much more difficult to mod, you're right. It is going to be much more difficult to mod. But I think before we concern ourselves with how difficult a game is going to be to mod, we should focus on playing the game first. You know, I mean, I get it with Fallout 3. It's been a long time since Fallout 3 has come out, so all the new content for Fallout that you're used to has been mods. You know, that's the only thing. That's been the only thing for a long time. But, you know, now it's not a mod. It's an entirely new game that we get to experience. So I think, you know, don't see the game and immediately think, okay, how am I going to mod this? You know, like, play through the game first, you know, and see what it needs, and see if it, like, I'm a little unsure about this, because it's still, I can still see not being able to mod it being a problem, but I guess my advice is just play the game first, you know, enjoy the game first, and we can worry about mods when we get to that point, I guess, is my advice to you, to all you modders out there, and all the good work that you do. Also, it is not impossible to mod the game, to add story mods when you have a voice protagonist. It's much more difficult, and you could argue that it takes people out of the immersion, but it's definitely not impossible. All right, so that's for non-voiced protagonist. For voiced protagonist, you still do have advantages to having a voice protagonist. For me, and I'm sure for some other people out there, I actually find a voice protagonist more immersive, and that's just because I like it when there's actually a voice coming out of my character. It feels more real than just selecting an option and never hearing what my character sounds like. Not hearing what they sound like is just weird. I don't know. I don't like it. I want them to have a voice. I want them to speak, and that's why I really like having a voice protagonist. I've always preferred having a voice protagonist. Now, that's just me. If you don't, then that sucks. I'm sorry, but, you know, that's the decision that they went with. So that one is back and forth. However, there are other advantages to having a voice protagonist in that, while you do have less dialogue options, you don't have to scroll through 6 billion options to pick the one that you want. You can just, you know, it's all contextual, so it's really easy to select the options that you want to say. Now, a lot of people have said that there are problems with this, such as the sort of headers, I guess. Instead of the full dialogue option when you're a voice protagonist, you just have little descriptions of what you're gonna say. It doesn't tell you exactly what you're gonna say. Now, for a lot of people, they don't like this, especially a lot of people who have played Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas don't like this, because they're used to being able to read everything and know exactly what their character is gonna say before they say it. And I get that. But you'll find after a while, after playing through the game for a while, you'll find you can usually guess pretty well at what your character is going to say based on those contextual clues. Or at least you could in Mass Effect. It depends on how well Bethesda does it. Because they could do it terribly and you can never guess, and hopefully not, because that would suck. But if they do it as well as Mass Effect did it, yeah, when I played the first Mass Effect, for a while, I was like, well, what does that mean? What am I going to say? But after a while playing through it, once I hit Mass Effect 2, once I started going through Mass Effect 3, I started to be able to tell what my character was going to say before they said it. You start to be able to figure that out, to read into it and realize what you're going to ask. And sometimes you'll even be able to tell, no matter which one of these I pick, I'm going to say exactly the same thing, aren't I? And yeah, you do. But that's sort of, excuse me. That's sort of what I wanted to say to the people who are concerned about not being able to tell what their character is going to say. What I wanted to say to you guys is, you're going to get it. It's not going to take you that long before you start to get it and understand. Once again, provided Bethesda does it well. I haven't played the game. I don't know how well those little headers are gonna describe what you're gonna say. From what I saw from the E3 trailer, they looked pretty decent. But that's just me. You know, I thought they looked pretty well done. So while we do have a voice protagonist, and that does cause some problems with the game, like more limited dialogue options, granted, they still recorded over thousands of lines of thousands of lines of dialogue for this game. There are going to be a ton of options, regardless of which one you have. Of course, there are less, but there's still a ton. I I really think that the voice protagonist isn't going to have a huge impact on the game. For me, I'm going to enjoy it. For you guys, yes, is it going to be not quite where you like it? Yeah, it is. But I don't think it's going to be so big of a deal that it's going to ruin the game for you. I think it's going to be, at the worst, it's going to be bearable, and at the best, maybe you'll find out you like voice protagonists. But I don't see this as being a huge glaring issue as far as the game goes. Once again, that's just me. So I want you guys to tell me what you think about this. I know this is a volatile topic, so I definitely want to hear where the community's at. If there are any reasons I missed for why we shouldn't have a voice protagonist, if there are any reasons I missed for why we should, post about it in the comments. Let me know down there. And I will respond. I'll respond to everything. I always make sure to respond to every comment I get. So, looking forward to seeing you guys down there. If you want to leave a like, leave a like. If you want to subscribe, I do always appreciate it. Yeah, everyone is welcome here. And this here's the Tyrant, signing off. Good night, everybody.